Hi, everyone. Welcome to Inside the Skev. I'm your host, Aaron Masliansky. Today, we are joined by Heather Collins. And Heather is the owner of Heather Collins Training. And it is a company that does custom work with people of all ages and abilities to help with their health and fitness goals. It's based in Evanston. And I'm so happy to be joined by Heather. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Aaron. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. So, Heather, we were put in touch by one of your clients, Len Joy, who's been on Inside the Skev, and he was raving about you. And a little while longer, we're going to hear from him and another client of yours. But you must do something that is so special and unique in terms of training. What is it about you? What do you do? What's different about it?
I think there's a holistic approach where I'm looking at helping clients meet their goals and maintain their health and fitness, not just from one piece, but from many aspects. So I can help them, improve their strength with weight loss. I can help them coordinate with their doctor, with their massage therapist, with their chiropractor, and just really make sure that they're heading toward the goals and what they want to accomplish.
And is that that's a little bit different than, let's say, if you go to a gym or a health club where you're just going and working out, and nowadays, maybe at home, where you don't have somebody looking after you. So how did you think about getting into this business and approach it in such a holistic manner?
Oh, I like that question because I grew up being coached. So I had sports when I was in high school. I ran cross country, I swam, I downhill skied, I cross country skied, I ran track and field. And then in college for a couple of years, I did running as well as swimming, both. Um, and coaches took care of everything. Like your coach, helped you with what you should eat basically all day long to meet your fitness goals. So, what you should eat, how much you should sleep, I guess, even before you get up to eat, what your workouts were, what weight you were lifting, what the pace was if you were running, or what strokes you were swimming, how fast you were swimming those strokes. Or if it was a team sport, the coach would, when you're working individually, when you're getting in for a skills session, when you're working with a team, when you're competing, what competitions are you in, all to help you reach your goals. And then I stopped competing and stopped having a coach after I graduated college. And I saw what was available to the non competitive athlete. And I thought, oh, this is just so disappointing. So
No
the,
wonder
the,
people lose motivation, right?
well, I think it's just there's so many pieces that go into reaching your goals, and it's not just one thing. And if you don't have somebody coordinating the whole package for you, it's very challenging and you can lose motivation. So I think, most people are left up to, I mean, they even might, you know, think they're picking a class that's going to help them reach their goal when really it's actually making a problem with their ankle worse, and they
Mhm.
have no idea. Or they might think that going to the massage therapist is going to fix the problem, but not really understanding that after the muscle gets loose, they have to, or the joint gets more loose and more mobile, that they need to do some work to keep it that way.
Now,
And that's
what
where I come in.
Yeah, that's where you come in. So you can tell that somebody has the wrong mechanics? Is that what's going on?
Um, I can often tell that their mechanics is not going to match their goals. I wouldn't necessarily, so they're not picking what they want for where they want to head. And a really good example is a lot of people think that bunions are hereditary, but bunions are not hereditary. However, some people are structured and make choices to make them more apt to get bunions. So I could see a client that's walking toed out and duck feet and know that over time they'll develop bunions because there'll be calcium deposited on the side of their foot by their big toe. And they're probably taking all those steps and they have no idea that bunion creation, bunion creation, bunion creation with each step, right? I can look at their shoes and they might be having trouble with their hips or their knee. And sometimes people's shoes are just really way too small and their toes can't spread out in that shoe to stabilize them. So every step they're taking in those shoes is actually creating a problem for them.
That's interesting. You know, you so how did you like get into this and get these skill sets that you could really help people?
Well, I think again, the motivator was looking at my coaches that do. I wouldn't say they're experts. What they can do is they can evaluate and then send you to an expert if you need extra, attention in one area. So I had that as a role model, and then what I tried to do was get enough knowledge in a bunch of different areas to be able to do an evaluation and then decide, hey, we need some extra help here. And an
Mhm.
example of that is, for example, I work with a nutritionist that I refer people to, and she is particularly skilled if somebody is having trouble. So, for example, they're getting dizzy before or after a workout, and what should they do? Or, they can't get enough protein, well, where should they make changes in their diet to help with that? So I had a client who was a patient in North Shore, and they recommended he was pre-diabetic, and they recommended he go on a low carb diet. However, he's vegetarian. Well, I had no idea what to do. So I just referred him out to the nutritionist. And then she coordinated back with me so I could help do the pieces of kind of help him monitor what he was eating, make small changes if he needed. For him, it really helped if he kept a food log, and it helped for accountability if I checked it.
Well, it's great that you have, these other partners that you can work with to help with every aspect of it because nutrition is so much a part of building strength, energy. It's everything and proper sleep and whatnot. But I think, when you think about a coach, I played basketball growing up and had some good coaches. I had some coaches who I think probably gave me some trauma when you think about it, just the
Oh,
yelling or you know,
oh.
or the things that they would say or make you do. Um, how do you find that balance of making sure that people are accountable and motivated and doing what they're trying to do versus like being too much?
Um, I more, I would look at myself more like a professor in that way, as opposed to a coach. I um, I rarely yell, and if I am, it's either because the person has a hearing issue, so I'm trying to get them, or they have their, earphones in or something, and I'm trying to get their attention. Or the other time I might yell as if I thought they were going to hurt themselves because they started to do something, and I might go, "No, stop," because I wouldn't want them to hurt themselves.
Sure.
Um, but rarely would I yell at anybody. And what I try to do is empower my clients. So I give them information,
Hmm.
and then I want them to choose what they want to do with that information. So back to the bunion example, okay, I've given you this information. If you walk toed out, your body is going to deposit calcium on the side of your big toe where that joint is. And then they get to pick. Do they want to work on walking straight ahead? Maybe they just had a baby and now it's just not a good time to work on it, but it'll sit there on the back of their mind and they'll be ready to work on it in, a few months after they've given birth, right?
Sure.
But I try to give them knowledge and then they can pick how they want to use the knowledge.
Yeah. And do you work with clients of all ages? I mean, do you work with athletes or is it, just, or is it a wide variety, I guess is my question.
A wide variety. So the youngest clients I've worked with is around the beginning of elementary school, so like kindergarten and first grade, typically.
Wow.
Although we have had some babies come in, and we were more copying them than them trying to copy us.
Yeah, that's
And on Zoom,
interesting.
I taught a class this morning to 1 year old and a 2 year old, or basically almost 2 year old. We're on. Um, so from that young age, basically when they can take in information and utilize it, and then up to my oldest clients are in their 80s right now, but I have had some clients in their 90s. They did not pass
How do you
the
it's
paper. So. I didn't kill them off or anything.
good. You kept them going.
Yes.
So one of the people that Heather's worked with is Len Joy, who's a previous guest on Inside the Skev. And let's hear a little bit about how Len has experienced working with Heather.
It's been a great experience for me. I think I started with Heather about 2012, 2013, right after I finished my Ironman. I'd been having spin classes with her and doing a few training routines, and just decided, she would make a good training coach for me going forward. And it's been a very rewarding experience. She's very thorough and a perfectionist, I think, and really knows her craft. But it would be hard. You could probably find other coaches that know all that, but she's very pleasant to work with. I mean, she makes it fun. And that was probably what's been able to sustain me for 7 or 8 years with one coach.
What I can do is look at how you're moving. And those movement patterns are the same when, so let's look at maybe a toddler that's learning to walk. Mm-hmm. They're going to walk or even start to jog a little bit. Their movement pattern is going to be similar to what an athlete, how they should be moving. Okay. And then it's going to be similar to how somebody in their 80s should be moving.
Right.
What's going to happen with the athlete is they're going to move a lot more quickly probably and be a lot more explosive. I'm also going to be able to add on more. So for example, today we were doing some deadlift work, and I wanted to add on to that basic deadlift. I could add on some weights. Now I wouldn't do that with somebody younger, but my clients that are more mature, like say middle school and up, I might add some weights on. And then I wanted to take that weight and see if they could still stabilize. So I was having them swing the weight side to side and see if they could hold on and stabilize. From there, I could add on a greater weight load, and I could add on a deadlift on a single leg. So an RDL or a single leg deadlift, and add that in. And for an athlete, I might also add in some plyometrics on that, or I might put them on a BOSU. Mm-hmm. So I'm layering on more, but the base is very similar. And then I might have them try to do that while they move from a different exercise. So possibly they did a skater hop, and then I wanted them to go into that single leg deadlift and move the weight side to side, trying to stabilize.
So you could add the complexity.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Now, right now it's we're talking September of 2020. A lot of things have changed in the world, and I imagine everything that you did beforehand was mostly in person. Now, where do you do your training? How do you keep safe with COVID, and how do you meet the needs of your clients?
So right now I have 3 training options for personal training, which one-on-one. I can meet my client, well, I guess I have 4. I can meet my client outside, or I would go into their home with masks and social distancing. And then I have a training studio, TrueFit, which is shared personal training space. And it's been nice because we can all collaborate to keep the center open, since the volume has been a little bit lower of people wanting to come into a training center. And I think that we've done an excellent job. So social distancing, masks, hand sanitizing, spraying down equipment before you use it and after you use it, keeping airflow. Now, are you as safe as if you are on Zoom? No. But if you're going to come in person, I think it's a really nice situation. I feel really good about it. And then the last option is on Zoom. And I'm doing all my group training and shared personal training time. So anything more than one person on Zoom right now.
Yeah. And you can also meet with people outside, like at a park sometimes too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And do you
Absolutely.
expect as it gets colder out to still be doing things outside with people?
It's really going to depend on the client and what they want to do. I grew up in Vermont,
Mhm.
and we went outside all year round. Actually, I don't know if you remember the polar vortex that we had a couple years ago
Yeah, I
here.
remember.
I Okay, I called my dad on the phone and I'm like, "Dad, do you think that's the coldest temperature that I've been in?" And he started laughing. He goes, "No, no, no." He goes, "The top of Jay Peak, which is a ski mountain." He goes, "That's much colder. You'll be fine."
Oh god. It's amazing how, the fortitude you need to be able to survive that.
So no, we didn't hang out there up on the top of the mountain. So I think it's going to depend on what the client wants to do, but I'm personally willing to work with them outside if they're interested. And I think could be some interesting things, like if there was snow, how I might use the snow and how that might change how they're walking and moving. And I think some ice could be really exciting.
Yeah, well, it keeps you have to be stable on your feet, and it probably adds a lot more training to different muscles that you may not typically use, right?
Right. So one of the classes or group trainings that I offer each week, I call it a footwork training. And one of the things that we work on is being able to stabilize. And even last year, we did something called penguin walking, which was how do you walk on ice? And it's really interesting because that, or to me anyway, is that penguin walking translates into how you might want to walk every day and how would you run?
Mhm. How
Because
do you
again,
do
you're
that?
trying to be stable. Basically, keeping your feet under you is a big part of it.
Yeah, I always worry about that when I'm running outside and there's a little bit of ice that like, oh God, this is gonna be it, and I'm gonna totally break my everything.
Which can happen, right? Like you can have I've had my foot I tried to pivot on the ice, I wasn't really thinking about it, and I had my whole foot slip out from under me and it ended up black and blue one time. I only did it
Oof,
once though.
that's scary. But one of the really cool things about your Zoom training is that you're able to meet with people anywhere, right?
Yeah, it's been very exciting for me. So I would say 100% in person training before March. If I was doing Pretty much if I was doing a personal training session, a shared personal training, or a group training. Um, and my clients would have to physically be in the Evanston area to come to that training. Now, I'd say probably, I don't know, maybe about 15% of my clients, 15 to 20, are outside of Illinois that are coming to those trainings. And I think it's really been a huge boost for their training. So if, for example, they were going on vacation with their family before, they would probably just miss the instruction that week and they might try to work out on their own, but often, because they didn't have a set time, they didn't get it in, or their family might interfere with what they were trying to do. Not in a completely negative way, but
Yeah.
but now they can go, I have training with Heather at 8:30 a.m. and I'm going to be doing that, and they can build it right into the schedule and they show up for that training. And then I
Well,
have clients that don't live in Illinois ever that I'm working with too. So that's been very exciting.
so I spoke with Victoria Holland, who is a client of Heather's who's out of state, and let's hear a little bit about her experience. Victoria Holland, so appreciative of you joining us here today to talk about Heather Collins and your experience working with her. So you work with Heather where she helps you with workouts. How does that work logistically?
Well, she works through Zoom, through the Zoom format, and that would be for private individual trainings or for group sessions. So everything's done through Zoom. She sends a Zoom link, and it's very easy to join. And it's just amazing the kind of specialized attention you can get using remote learning.
Now, I know that she also offers in person, but for your situation, that really wouldn't work. Can you tell us why?
Well, I was in person in Chicago. I worked with her for about 5 or 6 years. And then when COVID started, I decided to work in a different location. So right now I am about 45 minutes south of Charleston, South Carolina, on an island called Edisto Island. And so when I came down here, I started doing remote training sessions. And Heather was, of course, implementing this new format. And I have loved it. And I think from what I can see, her other clients, I would say the majority really find it beneficial. Of course, in COVID era, but I think it's something I might utilize going forward.
And how do you see the benefit of working with Heather as opposed to doing like an app or an online or going to a gym in person? What type
Sure.
of special attention does she provide?
Well, she knows me. She knows my movement patterns. She knows what my goals are and what I've been working on. So I've established that relationship, and it would be a shame to lose that because of the current situation. So I'm very thankful I don't have to lose that. Heather, first of all, is kind of one in a million, and I've looked far and wide for someone who could help me understand what I needed. Both to achieve my goal of being healthy and, throughout my entire life. I turned 50 this year, so it's like, I want to be strong. I want to stay strong, I want to stay healthy, keep my movement patterns making me feel good. So the goal of being healthy and active when I'm 85 is part of what, directs our work together. But then I've also seen great benefit from in my professional life as a lyric soprano, as a professional singer. So if I had to find someone else, I don't think I could. She is the person that I want to continue to build my strength and my stability. And I can't get that anywhere else. And the Zoom format has allowed me to not lose that.
Well, it's an amazing pivot, because I think one of the things that I've talked about with people on the show, like Linda Dara, I've had on, she's at Northwestern, and Northwestern is trying to help Evanston businesses pivot during the pandemic to be able to help their businesses survive. And what you're doing is basically opening up an entirely different market that you didn't have before. And because you're a smaller outfit, you have an advantage over a larger gym that is dependent on people coming in and large groups of people coming in. So has your business actually gone up since this started?
I would say the answer is no.
Okay.
Just flat. No, but what I have seen is I am getting in new business. I think initially what I did was I lost the people that weren't as serious about their training,
Mm-hmm.
that weren't right now ready with COVID to focus on, making adjustments in how they were moving and devoting time to training. So I lost those clients fairly quickly. I think it was just a little too much and not needed. I think maybe different priorities. But the clients that stayed are just getting more and more out of the training because of Zoom. And the new clients I'm getting in are very focused on improving. And I really appreciate the opportunity to work with those clients.
Well, it's so important because, you know, at least when this started, when you had to stay at home, the public health experts are telling everyone sit inside your house. Like if you want to go take a walk, but try to stay in. And I get that. They didn't want to overwhelm the hospitals. We didn't know what we were dealing with. But as this goes on, you realize that health is your best defense. If you have a healthy weight, you're eating healthfully, you're sleeping right, your stress is maintained because of exercise and everything else that you're doing, you have a better shot at surviving COVID. So I think health and what you're doing, and I'm going to have several different episodes on the show where it's about health, it's about nutrition, things of that nature, because I think it's so important. And we need as a community to be healthy. And we look at one interesting thing that I've read is that all these people that have passed away from COVID, they always there's an attribution to comorbidity. Well, America, most people have some type of pre-existing condition, or they're overweight, or it's a real problem here. So, I mean, I think what you're doing and opening up more opportunity is key. I mean, is that something that you've discussed with other people and really have seen a difference in people's health?
Oh, absolutely. And just the availability. Um, I have clients right now, like, and a lot of those, a lot of things that you're diagnosed with, you don't have to have them be permanent. So I have clients that have gotten diabetic off their medication, bone density issues off their medication back in the normal range for bone density. Clients that have had heart conditions and a heart attack, again, back heart healthy off their medication. Now, it
Wow.
is work though. It really is a significant amount of work. Asthma, clients that have had issues with joints, pretty much toes, ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, right? Spine, back, all those joints. And not just for COVID, but for everything you want to do in life, being healthier and moving better, it's huge.
Yeah. And it's almost like if everything is a cycle, and if you can get yourself into the cycle of health, then it continues in everything else that you do in your life. It's more about intentionality. And I think when you're not, and you're not sleeping well, and you're not eating properly, it makes you more depressed and stressed out, and just leads into these other types of chronic illnesses. Um,
Yes, definitely.
yeah. Do you now? I see that there's like a lot of different apps that have come out or have gotten very popular. Or there's, and there's even technology that's come out where it can scan your body and see if you're doing it in the right way. What are your thoughts on this?
One of the things I try to do is match my clients up if they're interested in that with an app that would work well for them. So, for example, two um, diet apps or weight loss apps are MyFitnessPal and Noom. But I have clients after I talk to them that I think, you might like the Noom approach much better, or you might like the MyFitnessPal much better. As far as exercise apps that people are using, or even YouTube videos that people are watching, one of the things I want to make sure, or at least have them know, is okay, if the yoga instructor is having you do a tree pose, are you able to actually maintain that form? And will they know that they're doing it?
Right.
Right? Or there's a lot of apps, you're going to go back, and this is in person too. So if they were going into an Orange Theory or into a training class at EAC, and the instructor is asking for a lunge, do they understand what a lunge is and can they execute it well? And that's at all levels. So you can go through right now and look at NBA players, for example, that they may be extremely strong, extremely fast, extremely explosive, and extremely skilled, but some of their basic body movements aren't working well. I think it's one of the reasons, for example, Derrick Rose was injured so much.
Oh, do
And
you
you can go
think
back and look at videos of him moving poorly back from the first videos.
really is it? This is interesting. So you're saying like when he was running down the court, or how he would walk?
Yes.
Both.
Yes. Basically anything.
Well, I remember that season where he tore his ACL the first time, and he had groin issues. He had like constantly he was getting injured, and then he kept going, and he had that play, and then he landed bad, and tore his ACL. But you could see that coming.
100%. Actually, I was interested. I saw an article, and I don't remember who wrote it, but the title of the article was, really the question should be, how did he last as long as he did?
Really?
Yeah, and you can look at it just not moving well.
Has
So
he
just
improved
because you're,
himself?
I apologize. I haven't followed him closely, so I don't feel confident in answering that.
Okay. Now, when people want to meet with you, is it how often should they meet with you? Is it something where you can meet like, you know, once a week, once a month, or is it every day?
Good question. It's going to depend what the client wants. So On the low end, I had a client that was working full time and attending grad school, getting an MBA actually from Northwestern. And they said, look, I can meet once a week
Okay.
for an hour. I'm going to give once a week an hour for my health, which isn't a lot. But they're like, just for this, just why I'm getting my MBA. And you tell me how to use that 1 hour that I'm willing to devote to training. Okay.
That's a low amount, but okay. Better than
Right.
nothing.
But it's way better. And what we were able to do actually is work a lot of movement patterns that then they worked into their everyday movement. So as they were going upstairs, as they were getting in and out of chairs, as they were walking, they ended up deciding to bike to work some of the time or bike home. So they were able to incorporate it into everything they were doing and thought about it a lot more. And then after they graduated and got their MBA, when they upped the amount of training they were doing, they had a really solid base for moving forward. Somebody like Len that you mentioned, who is training to compete internationally, for triathlon and duathlon, they're going to have, Len has almost 2 workouts 6 days a week. And then he has mobility work. So 2 kind of traditional, what you would think of like running or swimming or cycling or strength training. Plus he has everyday mobility work that he does. And he has some days that he does some additional core work.
Wow.
So he's going to be in contact with me daily. I'm going to not only be meeting with him. So he's a person that does outdoor and indoor training. So not only meeting with him, but I'm also going to be looking at the data from his workouts and see if he completed the workout the way it was written, or if he decided to modify it slightly, or if he just couldn't do it, or depending. So that's another, I would say that's
incredible health. It's amazing.
Well, that's another extreme.
Yeah.
And I would say the average person, somewhere between 3 to 5 trainings a week plus their mobility work. And the mobility work is where they're learning to control their joints.
Yeah.
And that is more
when you're
daily.
looking at their data though, are you asking people to like use like a smartwatch or looking at their heart data, or what do you mean by that?
Depends on the client and what their goals are. So for example, the client that had the heart attack, right, and was trying to improve their cardiovascular performance, I definitely wanted to see the data for their heart rate. And it was they run and walk. So it was, you were going to walk at this pace. They had goals not to get their heart rate over a certain amount. They had goals to make sure to get it over a certain amount. I had duration, so how long they were going to do it, what the incline was going to be. So they had a lot of data that they were sending back to me.
Wow.
Other clients may not be interested in that at all. So I have clients that don't track, like they'll go for a walk and they're supposed to let me know if they, didn't go the duration that I suggested, or if they had any, what I call hot spots. So if their foot was bothering them or their ankle was bothering them, they'd let me know.
And then you also have group training. So if you want to, so you can check on everybody as you're going through it, right?
Yes. So for example, this morning I had a group training, and back to that swinging deadlift. So one of the things I was introducing into the group training was, can we take a basic body motion, like for, in this case, a squat, and can we add something to that? So could we add swinging, or could we add taking a object or a weight and kind of making a figure 8 in and out of our legs? And how do you hold that? Or could we combine that figure 8 with some swinging? And how are they holding? And then if you wanted, we could even make the weight heavier.
Well,
and I didn't have anybody do this, but I could have them stand on a couple of BOSUs, and that would really up their challenge.
I don't think anybody, it sounds like, gets bored when they're working with you, right? I think they're challenged.
I haven't had that feedback ever.
Well, I think that's sometimes the feedback from going to the gym, when you show up and you don't know what you're going to do, and you do, okay, I'll do 20 minutes on the elliptical and maybe I'll do a couple stretches and I'm done. And like, that doesn't happen when you go to you, or, to a coach. And I feel like that is such a huge benefit, that you have the accountability, that you can make sure that they're actually doing it. And if you're going to spend the time on it, you might as well devote yourself to it, right?
Yes, exactly. And I think clients really like that they know that time. So, for example, Vicky is a professional singer, and she knows that I understand that she wants to improve her vocals. And she also wants to help the clients that she instructs improve theirs. So I would never put her on elliptical. Basically, she'd end up overdeveloping her quads, underdeveloping her backside. And there's so many other good options for cardio that I just would never put her on an elliptical. So she knows that when I'm picking with her goals in mind. And I
Yeah.
think clients really like that.
I love it. I think it's like you're like the Mercedes Benz of health training.
I want to be a BMW. Can we switch?
Okay, you could be a
I
BMW.
want to maneuver a little better around the curve.
I love it. So, where can people find your physical space? Where is that located, the training center?
610 Davis Street, second floor, Evanston.
Love it. And then you're on Zoom, and then your website, heathercollinstraining.com, right?
Yes, exactly.
And you've got great information there. You've got client stories, articles, information about your team and what you do. And then if somebody wants to find out about pricing and whatnot, they should just contact you there, I assume.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. And I'm also willing, so I have some clients that I was very excited. I have some special needs clients that I'm working with, or some older adults that maybe cost is an issue. And if you're willing to put in the time, I'm willing to work with you on the pricing.
Love it. Love it. You're doing great work. I appreciate you coming on to the show and spending the time here, and keep the SCEV healthy.
Thanks, Aaron.
Pleasure.